via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, Sexual Union and its layers. We consider ourselves all knowing about our physicality, sexual union, and things like this. You know your body from outside. Knowing the body outside is like anyone else knowing it. You know your hand, you are seeing it. You know the other who is watching you also is seeing your hand and knows about your hand. Do you know your hand? For that you have to move into the second layers, the inner, and unless you move and you see your body from inside, you will not be able to continue the inward journey. You attain maturity. You think with that you know everything about sex, sexual union, or male-female relationship. You have not yet explored your body from inside, not inner body. It is, and there are inner, the first layer, the first body, and the second, the etheric body. How you can see the difference? You know your physical body from outside. The first step is to know it from inside. And when you know from inside, you can know the physical body from inside, but you know the second body, the etheric, only from outside. How that is possible? But knowing the physical body from inside is the first criteria to know the second body. I give you a simple example. You have rooms, two rooms connected to one another, or three rooms connected to one another. You enter from the door, you are outside that room, you see the wall of the room from outside, then you enter the room through the door. And if you are entering from the left wall has two layers, outside and the inside. The outside you are seeing, but to see it inside you have to come inside the room. And when you come inside the room, you come from the left side, you see the inside wall of the room. And to the right, because the door is facing the same, you see the outside wall of the second room. Although the two walls that are facing in the room each other belong to the first room or the first body, that is the physical body. But the left side wall inside is the inside wall of the first room, and the right side wall inside is the outside wall for the second room. Now, in one room, we paint the entire room in one color. So the inside wall of the first room and the outside wall of the second room, which in reality are the inside walls of the first room, are painted in the same color. But in order to enter the second room, you have to come to the first room, and as you come inside, you see the physical body, the first room, the wall of the room from inside. You have seen it from outside. The outside color may be of a different color. As we paint the outside of the house in a different color and inside in a different color. So you are entered in the first room. Left side, you see the inner side of the first room, inner wall, and to the right you see the outer wall of the second room. This is how the relationship between the physical body and the etheric body happens. And you have to transcend, journey through all these lives. Each life has a certain way up to the fourth body. There are methods how to attain. You transcend the physical body, the second body. There are exercises, the physical exercises, the hatha yoga. Yoga is the science of, it is a science of knowing something. Then there are breathing exercises in every religion, in one way or the other. There are breathing exercises. When we say the word Allah, it has two syllables, Allah. La goes on. When you say ah, the actual sound, although la you say, but the sound is ah. Ah sound goes deeper into your solar plexus. Have you felt it at that time when you? This is how you come to know the inner body, the inner aspect of the physical body. You have entered into the sexual union from outside, but you are not. You are so much engrossed in the outer aspect that you have no time to know it from within. And unless you know the sexual union or the act from within in the form of feelings, you cannot transcend sex. You cannot transcend the physical body. It has two aspects, the outer aspect of it that we are all familiar with, but the inner aspect that belongs to the etheric body, and then after that astral body, then mental body. Up to here the exercises, the hatha yoga, the pranayama, and all these breathing. Pranayama is breathing exercise. All these are relevant. But when you to move from the fifth body, the fourth to the fifth is a different technique, because fourth comes in the middle. This is somewhat similar to the seven valleys of Al-Ghazali according to the Sufi way. Seven valleys, what happens, what experience you get when you enter through the seven valleys. Seven valleys or seven bodies. At the start of the sexual union, keep attentive on the fire in the beginning. While you are overflowing, do not think in terms of release. Remain with this overflowing energy. Do not seek any release. Forget it completely. Be whole in this warm beginning. remain with your beloved or with your lover as if you have become one, and in that a circle is created. When you become one, then a circle is created, but normally it does not happen that way. How it happens, there are three possibilities or three layers in which you can enter into a sexual relationship with a person, male, lover or beloved. Two lovers meet and they create three figures which become the three layers of sexual union. These are geometrical figures. You may have even read about or even seen the old alchemical picture in which man and woman are standing naked within the three geometrical figures. And nakedness is very important. It is symbolic of innocence. If you are not innocent, the nakedness, when it assumes the texture of innocence, it has a beauty. But you all accustomed to being naked for other reasons. It is said Mahabir, who was contemporary of Gautam the Buddha, he was a king. He renounced the kingdom like Buddha and he became a recluse. So now those recluse, they use a single piece of cloth to cover their lower extremities, and a piece of that just covers a certain part of the upper extremity. So he was walking through the forest. There were bushes on the either side. His piece of the garment, it was not a garment, piece of cloth, got stuck in the thorns, and as he moved forward, it got removed because it was hooked onto the thorns so deeply. As he moved forward, it unwrapped and he became naked. It was not intentional for any reason. He did not become naked for sexual union or for any other reason. It's naturally and spontaneously happened. It has a beauty, and this is an aspect of innocence. So you start up with the physical, then you go into psychological and other aspects of it, and it becomes spontaneous, natural. Then it has a beauty of it. So then he remained naked throughout his life. That was an embodiment of innocence. But when you are standing naked in front of your beloved or lover, it is for an ulterior motive that you have to undress yourself in order to enter into the sexual union. So the three possibilities, the old alchemical picture shows lover and beloved standing naked in front of one another, and they form a circle. Circle has no break of energy, it has no beginning, no end. A circle. So there are three possibilities. Two lovers can meet, can create three figures, geometrical figures. The first figure is a square. The second figure is a triangle, and the third is a circle. Try to understand the total geometry of it. If ordinarily when you are in a sexual act, there are not two persons. Instead, there are 4 minimum. How there are 4? But as such, when you marry a person, you're not marrying that person, but you're marrying a crowd. When I say the 2 persons, you are 2 and your spouse is 2. There is a thinking part of you and a feeling part of you. You are not completely the feeling part when you enter into the sexual union. They both enter into the union simultaneously, the thinking and the feeling parts. That's why there are 4 persons. Your thinking part and feeling part, the thinking and the feeling part of your spouse, that makes it 4. Because a square has 4 angles. Each angle represents something. It represents, at times you are thinking, at times you are feeling, and like a swing, like a pendulum, you move from thinking to feeling and feeling to thinking. You are neither in either of the 2. 4 angles are there because you are divided into thinking and feeling, your spouse is divided into thinking and feeling. 2 persons are not meeting there, instead 4 persons are meeting. Your thinking part is a person, it has an identity, it has an individuality, and the feeling has an identity as well, but both are conflicting with one another. The thinking and the feeling part. Sex is an aspect of feeling, and when it transcends from thinking to feeling, you enter into the deeper precincts of the act. Then you can journey, you can attain to transcendence beyond. And it is very important. Throughout the life we remain engrossed into this sexual union until the energies deplete, then we cannot do. But the thinking mind continues to remain engrossed in the sexual act in one way or the other. We keep on thinking of having, not feeling the sexual act, sexual union. So there are 4 corners and the meeting is just false. The 2 people are not meeting. Sometimes one moment there is thinking part. You are in the union, but you are thinking that you are making love to someone else. And someone and your spouse thinks the same way. The thinking remains. Either it can be of thinking, can be of different types. It can be while you are thinking that let it finish quickly because after that I have to go and watch my favorite show or do this or that. But nobody is honest enough to say that. At the moment when we were in that union, I was thinking this, I was thinking that, because we are afraid. And that creates the problem that you are not in the sexual act really. And how can there be transcendence? So throughout the life you remain engaged in it until the energies deplete, then you cannot do anything. Then the other things happen. And the 2 heads are meeting, only 2 thinking processes are meeting, not to feeling processes. They remain hidden because the mind becomes the master. And when mind is a servant. When servant becomes the master, that is the greatest problem. In one of the bodies, when I explain the 7 bodies, which is a part of the subject matter of the second publication, Light Onto Yourself, it is a part of that which I had finished only last night. 7 bodies. Imagine a situation. You have a big house and there are many servants, and you are out of the place, you are not at home, someone comes and knocks at the door. So whichever servant is nearby, it may be this. And what are the servants? The anger, the jealousy, the hatred, the love, all these are servants. So maybe hatred may open the door. So it becomes the master. And whoever opens responds to the guest who has knocked at the door. This is what happens. Mind is the servant. And it is the servant that is entering into the sexual union, not the master. Your inner feeling, your innerness is really the master, and that has not entered into the union. So this is the first layer of the union, which is the most common. And almost everybody enters into the sexual union in this form and remains engrossed major part of the life in this layer. When this first book, Life, Love and Light, which is published from Amazon with the author as Nivedita C. Rimbach. The link will be posted soon. Someone asked that you were surprised so much has been talked about various aspects of sex, and he wondered why the masters have not explained these things in so much details. Because everyone is engrossed into it, and if you are engrossed into it, you cannot give a scientific explanation, a detailed explanation for anything. Sometimes it happens you enter into the second layer. The second layer is depicted by a geometrical figure of triangle. Triangle, it can be isosceles, it can be right angle, but usually for all such purposes we use isosceles triangle, which has 3 angles, same 60 degrees. So the base have 2 triangles 60 degrees each, and they reach to the point and form a peak. 2 angles at the base. So for a sudden moment you become one. Your feeling and the thinking becomes one, and they become one. Like the 3rd angle of the triangle, the peak, the top angle of the peak. For a sudden moment, for a fraction of a second, your two-ness is lost and you become one. This is better than the square meeting, because at least even for a single moment there comes oneness. But this oneness is not a conscious oneness. This is just happens in certain moments. You have not known it from within. I am explaining so you can reflect at times. Yes, it happens at certain times. Oneness, and this oneness gives the health and vitality. It is said sex is the source of vitality and health, but not the first layer. When the four are engaged in the act of sex, sexual union, when even for a moment you feel the peak, you reach the peak, you feel alive and young once again. But then there is a third layer as well. And the third layer of the union, which is tantric union, tantric meeting, you become a circle. Circle, inside the circle you can draw a square, you can draw a rectangle, you can draw a triangle. But the circle itself is complete. It has no angles. Angle means your each angle, like see, when we are talking about the subject from different angles. You are entering into the sexual union from different angles, maybe from the angle of thinking mind, thinking process, or through the process of the feeling. And then because the square has no peak, so the peak is not attained. And your spouse, your beloved, also uses the two angles, thinking or feeling. In the second, the two, and for a fraction of a second, for a period, for a little while, you experience the third possibility, which is oneness. And that oneness gives vitality and health to you. In the circle, the third layer, there is no angle. The meeting is not for a single moment. The meeting is really non-temporal. There is no time in it, and it happens only when you are not seeking any release. If you are seeking a release, you are entering into the sexual union just to release the tensions, and with that tensions, the body produces a secretion, and that secretion is the release. And the moment that release happens, you feel little bit somewhat relaxed but not rejuvenated. Then there will be, when the moment there is a release of the bodily fluid, the union is lost. So Sutra says, Shiva tells Devi, and through her, because each master, when he speaks through the most important disciple or the seeker. Through him, he explains, shares the insight, and these are meant for the entire humanity. Each Buddhist scripture begins with, "Thus I have heard." The Hindu scriptures begins athato, therefore. Therefore means a continuity. Athato bhakti jigyasayam. Therefore, I begin more explanation on the aspect of devotion or bhakti. Athato bhakti vyakhyasamaha. I am explaining more about devotion or bhakti or love. This is how it happens. The There are many misconceptions when you reach the seventh body. It is said, the Holy Prophet said that is said to be looking upward. But when we say upward, everybody looks up in the sky, and upward means the sky, the heaven, but it is not. It is the third eye center. He is looking at the third eye center. That I will explain if the time permits another time about the seven bodies. Each body, how it functions and how it bridges the other. You remember when an army is marching, it crosses the bridge, and the moment it crosses the bridge, it breaks down the bridge, so that the moment you crossed, it's not that you have to come back. From the journey is journey forward, not backward. That becomes natural. So when you are transcending from the physical body to the etheric body, you need a bridge. And when you use the bridge to cross over to the etheric body, you break the bridge. And it naturally happens. The bridge becomes redundant, useless. It cannot help you to forward, because this bridge has helped you to go from here to there, but this bridge you cannot carry from here to reach to somewhere else. Then you will need a different bridge. When you are moving forward and there are different bridges, one bridge connects to the two shores. So this bridge takes you from this shore to that shore. Now from this shore to that shore you need another bridge. So these are the bridges. And the third eye bridges your sixth body. This is in the fifth body, which Gurdjieff calls it. Before that you are a compendium of egos. So many egos. And in the fifth body, ego crystallizes, which is very important, the crystallization of ego. Then in the sixth body, the ego dissolves. And in the seventh body, there is no ego and there is no absence either. That is the seventh valley. This seventh body is known as nirvanic body. So remain in the present, enjoy the meeting of the two bodies. Through the bodies, you are entering you have entered into the sex from the outer body, and through the feeling you are entering the inner aspect of the sexual union. Just as you have entered, you are seeing the physical body, the room, you have seen it from outside with the wall, and you know this wall belongs to this room 1. When you enter into the room 1, you see the inner side of the wall and you see the outer wall of the room 2. So you see the physical body from outside. That's where you enter into the second body, into the first body. So from thinking, you have entered into the feeling aspect and you remain there. And you forget about when you have entered in the first room. Do you start thinking about the outer wall of the first room? You enjoy the innerness of that room, the spaciousness. You get the comfort. You can relax being into that room. So you are relaxing into the feeling aspect. You have entered into through the sexual union, through the outer, the physical body, into the second, the etheric body, through the sexual union. The feeling is there, remain in that. Enjoy the meeting of the two bodies, two souls, merging into one another, melting into one another. Forget about anything going anywhere else. Remain in the moment, going nowhere. You are not thinking about anything. You are not thinking that you have to finish this assignment or that. You are totally into it. When the simple thing is this, we are eating, but while we are eating, we are thinking of something else. That the last restaurant where we visited, that had a better food, that had a better service. Oh, next time we will go to the next restaurant. We have heard that another restaurant, a beautiful restaurant. Someone told me that this restaurant has a beautiful ambience and the prices are really reasonable. So we must go there. You have a platter of the food in front of you. You have the platter of the food that the sexual union is in front of you. You can be totally into it and experience the bliss, experience the transcendence through it. And when you have eaten properly the right kind of food, you get the satiation, and after that you will not feel hungry. A stage comes in the act of sexual union that you get so much satiated that sex interests you no more. Otherwise, it is like you have eaten and after 2 hours the food is digested, you feel again hungry. So that is how the nature of sex is. But the moment you have entered into it, and through that vehicle you have reached the last layer of the body, the nirvanic body, the seventh layer or the seventh valley, then total satiation comes. You have transcended the physicality of sex. And that is the beyondness of sex, which I conceived of another topic, beyond the realm of sex, how one can go into that. That is a concept at the moment when I put my pen, not I will put, the pen is put onto that, it will flow like from the infinite source. The river flows in the form of thoughts, in the form of message, and that becomes the subject matter of any book. Before this book there was no idea what will be the chapters like, and 38 chapters comprise the first book, Life, Love and Light. Anyone who has the slightest interest of having a communion with me, whatever questions, whatever it is, they can be put to pen in the form of a book as your experience. This book is the journey of transformation, because first it has to transform, then the transcendence is the next aspect. So the first book is journey of transformation of a seeker. The second book, Light Onto Yourself, is journey of transcendence, the subtitle, journey of transcendence, because first the process begins from transformation. When transformation is completed, then you reach the next layer, transcendence. So remain in the present, enjoy the union of the two, merge into each other, melt into each other, not going anywhere, remaining in the moment. That is why, and melting warmth, love should be made the situation for the two to melt into each other. That is why the way we engage into the sexual union, there is no love. Sex remains a hurried act. You are using the other. The other is a means, and the other is also using you. Both are exploiting one another. There is no merging at all with love. Love is the beginning to merge into one another. Love bridges, that's why I have a chapter in that. Love bridges life and light. And these three topics, life, love and light, were subject of series of talks couple years back in Washington DC. So we continue this until it was necessary to begin this to renew as a review of the talk last week, and since we have 3 days to continue this talk, so I begin somewhat taking aback. So until we meet again tomorrow for another journey, take care and do have a pleasant day.